Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart, and today, another great episode for you. Today, we're going to talk about 3 forgotten tips, strategies, frankly, that are kind of often forgotten or missed. They kind of slip through the cracks when it comes to us leveling ourselves up, and especially kind of perfect time of the year for this. Recording this right now, we're mid-December or just early part of December, and we're heading into the new year, and hopefully we're all starting to think about how to go this year, how to go in 2024, and who do I need to be? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be next year in 2025? And I think this is the perfect time to think about this. If you've listened to my podcast for a while, you'll know that I love planning. I love strategizing. I love thinking about all the potential opportunities that we have upcoming in our lives. And especially, so I love New Year's planning. And I know some people kind of frown and poke fun at it and whatnot, but I love it. I love just thinking and dreaming about the potential that we all have when it comes to making plans and New Year's resolutions for the upcoming year. And I always start them in December because I want to win December specifically, because December can be a little bit tricky. As you all know, you're experiencing it right now. It falls right between October 31st and January 1st, where frankly, most of our woes will happen with our health and our weight and all of those different things. So today is just a little reminder. I'm going to give you 3 tips. We'll kind of make this pretty short today about the forgotten strategies. I think they are. They're the root of us planning and creating the best version of ourselves moving forward. All right. So again, thank you everyone for doing what you're doing. We're reaching more people. That's the intention here. So the Health Made Simple Show, this is a free podcast. We make sure that it's not best I can, non-biased. Of course, I personally am biased. I like what I like. Yet we're not going to have too many influencers in terms of like advertisers and stuff. And we've had some that have requested to be on here, but nonetheless, at this time, we're going to say no to them until they're completely non-biased in terms of making sure that I can do the best I can in helping you, just reminding you daily that you're awesome and that health is simple. I'm not saying it's easy, and today's going to be another reminder of that. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. And in today's environment where there's so much information being thrown at us, which I think is awesome, I think that we have information at our fingertips. Sometimes it feels a little bit complicated, overwhelming. Yet my intention is always to just simplify it. Let us know that we're awesome. We're designed in the eyes of perfection. And if we just kind of get ourselves out of the way, we can live these extraordinary lives. All right. With that being said, let's dive in again. Thank you. Keep doing your thing. Keep sharing out. Keep spreading love. All right. 3 forgotten health tips and strategies. Number one strategy, one tip I'm going to remind us all is that we have to personally raise our standards. It seems like an obvious one, but we personally have to raise our standards. And one of the best ways I think to just kind of look at this is in perspective of when you think about how you move, how you eat, and how you think. All of those, whether you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to have more mental capacity, you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to have better relationships, often it comes down to our personal standards that are going to dictate the rest of that. One of the fastest ways we can just look at this in perspective of just life is look around the people you're hanging around with, the people that you associate the most with. Many of you have heard the idea that the people you associate with, the 5 people that you associate with, communicate with, spend time with, communicate with, the most, those 5 people, if you took those 5 people in sum and looked at their health, their wealth, and relationships, that is the sum best that you're going to be. And most likely you're going to fall right in the middle on all 3 of those categories. So first and foremost, you got to look. So let's say you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get fitter, you're trying to, physically get better this year. Who are you hanging with? Who are you getting your information from? Who are the people that are helping you to either level up your standards or bring them down to a comfortable place? So oftentimes, if you are the fittest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the smartest person in the room, wrong room. If you're the richest person in the room, wrong room. So in order for us to change our standards, we're going to have to get a little bit uncomfortable in terms of our associations and get outside of that box. So again, just as you start to think of the new year, and you're thinking about planning and whatnot for, the best year of your life next year, 2025, think about what are your personal standards. And once you do that, then you can kind of fill in the blanks after that. So in order to have new standards, change is going to have to happen. And again, you're going to hear today that a lot of these strategies require us to get a little bit uncomfortable. So continue to pay attention with who you work out with, who you eat with, who you socialize with, because they're all going to have a major influence on overall your standards. They're going to elevate you up or down. I will tell you this. You hang out with me and my wife. My wife always helps me raise my standards, quite frankly, when it comes to eating. I know that we're just not going to go to a place that has bad food, period. That's one of the simple things I'm talking about. So we're never going to have on the table as an option, no matter how hungry we are, as McDonald's being an option for eating. We will not eat. So that is our standard. Good food or no food. I'm not saying that's for you. I'm saying that is what I mean when it comes to standards. Are you hanging with people? Are you being influenced by people that help you elevate? The only way you can do that is first determine what you want as your standards, even if they look like they're almost unachievable. So that's number one, a forgotten health tip. It's a huge one. We have to raise our personal standards. And I'm going to back this up and just say this real quickly here. When it comes to our health, our wealth, and our relationships, it's really not that we don't know enough information. We often know the what. It is how we are going to approach these things emotionally. I'm going to say that again. It's not what. It's not the right food, wrong food. It's not what I should do or should not do in a relationship. It's not whether or not I should try to save more money or invest my money. It's not. We know what to do more often than not. It is how are you going to approach those things emotionally. So as I share all these things, remember, the decision making is really going to come down to our emotional standards. So again, back to tip number one here, recognize your standards. And what in an ideal world, what would your standard be like? What would it be when it comes to your health, your wealth, and relationships? All right, number two here, got to create a plan, a strategy. When we create our plans and strategies, oftentimes something that's going to happen is that we're going to have to be able to plan and strategize for something that we don't know yet. We're going to have to uncover new techniques. We're going to have to learn new things. We're going to have to level ourselves up and literally have a plan, which will go back to tip number one here, have to have a standard. So in a sense, it looks like this. If you want to lose weight, good chance that you're going to have better sources of calories and probably less calories, quite frankly. So maybe knowing how many calories you consume on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, your micros and your macros, that would be an awesome strategy for us to have. And then it means maybe you have an app on your phone that you could quickly log your food with. And again, these might just be plans and strategies to help you move toward that standard and toward that goal that you have. Without a plan, without a strategy, going into the new year, as you reset, hopefully making 2025 the single best year of your absolute life, to do so, you're going to have a plan. If you're, we're going to see what happens kind of person, then that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to see what happens. And in the moment, because there's no plan or strategy, things aren't probably going to work out into your favor. You're going to settle to what the universe provides you, which usually is a mediocrity, meaning that it will just kind of fall right in between. This isn't so good. This isn't so bad. We'll just give you kind of what you're giving the universe. And as I'm saying this, I'm leading you to number three, which I'm going to mention in just a moment. You're going to recognize, and I think this is the fun part, that all of these things that we want that we don't currently have. And I think that is a wonderful thing for a human behavior, for us to have wants. We want better relationships. We want better health in our lives. We want more finances. We want more resources so we can do more things in life. All of the above. They're going to require a version of you that doesn't exist yet. Now, this goes for me as well. They're going to require a version of you that literally does not exist. So you're going to have to make some changes. One of my standards this year is that I want to have more mental capacity. So physically, I'm going to keep my standards raised high. I'm going to keep pushing that. My wife and I were just talking this morning. We're going to raise our standards when it comes to our diet. And for some of you, that might sound ridiculous, yet we notice that when we are on target, when we are literally in the flow, we're putting good foods into our body at the right times of the day, the right amounts, all of the above, organic, all the good things that we know more and more intuitively what works for us. And what works for Kelly is a little different than what works for me. So knowing yourself is also important. So we just recognize it's funny. We both woke up with the exact same thoughts on our minds saying, we're going to raise the bar a little bit. Once you start to recognize what does work for you, that is a beautiful place to experience, because then you have a new standard that you can kind of set up to. So one of my standards this year is going to be that I want to have more mental capacity. I want the ability to mentally be able to go after it 12, 14, 16 hours a day. I've seen some light in that direction. And I know that in order to do that, I have to have my physical body on point. I have to have an extreme amount of physical energy. I have to sleep well. I have to eat impeccably. And I have to also make sure that the thoughts that I'm having and what's wrestling in between my earballs every single day are things that are worthy of my time. Otherwise, they're exhausting. There's nothing more exhausting than wasting your time, energy, and thoughts on things that just don't matter in life. So that's a big thing for me coming up in this upcoming year. I want to be able to do more things in my life. Many of you know that we just opened up another business. It's a dog food store called the Dog Kula. Super excited. You're going to hear me talking more and more about it. We're doing secondary podcasts now, which are incorporating more things about dogs, which is obviously part of my life, part of my passion. And to do that, I need more mental capacity. We're running multiple businesses now. We have a farm. We have 8 dogs, all the above. And what I recognize, because so many people ask me all the time, Doc, how do you do all this? Oh my God, you're so busy. I don't feel that way. I feel very blessed. And when people ask me about all of those things, so why do you do all those things? And I will tell you, because I can. That's the single first thing that comes to my mind. If you asked me this years ago, back in my early 40s, there's no possible way, because I wasn't healthy enough physically, because I wasn't healthy enough mentally. I could not have do what I'm doing right now. I could not fly all around the country, come back, see my patients. I could not then open new businesses and run a farm and all the above. And one of the biggest reasons I do those things now is because I can. I love what I'm doing. And moving forward, I want the ability to even do more. I don't want this to be my tipping point. I don't want this to be my invisible ceiling. So I recognize that I'm going to have to do things a little bit different, the things I think about, the things I do, etc. So just to shed a little bit light for you, there's more in your life available for you, but to get those things, to be the best man, to be the best woman, to be the best mom, dad, brother, sister, etc., you are going to have to be a better person. You're going to have to recognize that the environment you are choosing is a choice. Hopefully you'll recognize, okay, this is going to be the year. I'm going to create a new standard. And that means, and then fill in the blank. We're no longer going to make our check down, nutritional place is never going to be McDonald's again. It's going to be good food or no food. Maybe it's going to be that you're going to choose to do some level of exercise every day. There will never be a day without. And if your standards become these, whether or not you hit these targets at 100%, you know where you're going back to. And right now, one thing, as a healthcare provider, I recognize that people don't have the standards. Even if you're not using that verbiage or that terminology, their standards just keep getting lowered. And the lower your health goes and the lower your experiences are, you just keep lowering that bar. So it becomes more monotonous or harder and harder, at least in your brain, to get to that next level. All right, which brings me to the last one. So the last part of here is, in terms of forgotten tips and strategies, is that, hey, listen, we're going to have to get uncomfortable. That being healthy, and I'm going to continue to remind you about this, not to persuade you in any other way, but remind you that being healthy is inconvenient. It's going to be uncomfortable, and often it has to be unfamiliar, meaning that you're not doing it. So it's going to be something unfamiliar. How you move, how you eat, or how you think. It's going to get you to that next level. But I'll tell you some other things that are inconvenient. Being a parent, definitely inconvenient. Owning 8 dogs, super inconvenient. Being an entrepreneur, super inconvenient. You don't really have a schedule. You basically work, you grind, you push, you do all the above. All my entrepreneurs understand this. We think it's self-employed is the holy grail of free time. Nope, it doesn't work that way. Many of the greatest things that we're going to have the opportunities for in life are going to be inconvenient to get to have those experiences. So to be healthy, to be fit, to have a body that you really kind of enjoy, respect, and kind of love on, to have a 6-pack or whatever you want in your life, it's going to be very inconvenient, because you're going to make decisions repetitively over and over again that you're going to be wrestling with emotionally mostly. Man, I sure would like to eat these donuts this morning. And you're going to have to say, nope, not today. That doesn't add up to my standards. That doesn't help me get to the goals that I have. Doesn't help me create the 6-pack. Doesn't help me have that mental capacity later. It doesn't make me a better dad, a better mom. I was just down in Naples, and I was speaking to a large group. One of the services that we offer is we go in and we create functionally fit teams. Think of like corporate wellness in the new paradigm. and went down there with one of our teammates, Callie. If you guys haven't got to meet Callie yet, she's awesome. She's on board with us. She helps us. Now she's taking her own clients on in terms of functional nutrition, functional medicine, labs, you name it. Callie's awesome. We went down there and we were teaching a group of about 50 people essentially how to level up their capacities at work, but also what we call the fourth quarter, was make sure that you get done a day's work and when you get home, you still have enough left over for your family. So one of the reasons I'm sharing with you, this is something I recognize every day. And I'll give you an idea of standards, doing hard stuff that's inconvenient, and setting goals and standards. So goals and strategies, plans and strategies. So we go down there and I know this is what I know after 30 years of practicing. One of the things that I know that after people eat, their energy goes down, their mental capacity goes down. That can be problematic. So I think I've shared a little bit on this podcast. So when I'm seeing patients, I don't eat. I do have herbs. I do use electrolytes, but I do not necessarily eat any food. In the way that I've done my schedules that we see patients straight through. I do not have a lunch break. And when we stop seeing patients is when I eventually will eat. And that could be anywhere from, it means I'm essentially fasting. And that might be 16 hours on the low side, but typically it's between 18 and sometimes 20, maybe 22, 23, 24 hours. And I've conditioned my body to do that. And one of the reasons I do that, and I'm not telling you to do that, it takes, just like if you're going to be, run a marathon, you don't start with 24 miles, you start with, 26 miles, you start with running 1 mile at a time. So I practiced and trained my body to do that. And one of the things I recognized across the board, everybody's energy dips after they eat. So we come back, we're down in Naples, 50 people in the room, and it's almost a little bit of a setup, quite frankly. Everyone goes and eats, and they ate pretty good. The people who put on the presentation there or brought us in there, and they paid to have us in there, et cetera. They had Chipotle, essentially cater the event, which, you can make some great choices with Chipotle. Everyone ate Chipotle. They had huge plates of food. I was watching them kind of chuckling because I knew it would be a perfect setup for my next lesson, in that what we don't often recognize in food, that our food controls our energy. And when we eat a big old food, after that, we're going to down regulate our energy, our mental capacity. So we start after lunch, we get back into the workshop and the seminar, everyone's exhausted. Everyone's brain's slowing down. They can't keep with me. They don't have the same look in their eyes, et cetera. So think about standards and think about maybe what I mentioned about mental capacity. When do you need awesome mental capacity? And are you strategizing with your food and your nutrition so you can have great mental capacity? So many of you also know that when I speak and I go out, and sometimes I'm a keynote speaker and I only speak for an hour and a half, but oftentimes I'm speaking for 8 hours, 9 hours. And I don't eat during those times either. And I do that because, listen, I need my mind to be sharp. But to do that, there's a lot of inconvenient things I do so I can perform at that level. And I'm not saying to impress you. What I'm doing is really just shedding light and look at so many things in your life that maybe you just don't have a good strategy to win those events. Maybe like the event of coming home after a long day work and being great with your family. Maybe, just coming home, sitting on the couch and plowing a bunch of food into your body isn't the best strategy. So think about those strategies. After you eat, your energy is going to go down. Your blood goes to your gut. It absorbs some of the potential of oxygen and whatnot into your brain. So maybe just kind of look at those. So really quickly here, back to number 3 here, the third tip / forgotten strategy when it comes to getting healthy is we got to get uncomfortable. Health is going to be inconvenient, uncomfortable, and unfamiliar. And the beauty is this: all of these things that I just talked about today, even though they are inconvenient, even though it's going to be uncomfortable, even though you have to do unfamiliar things, it is 100% worth it. The experiences that you can have in life will always be enhanced when you are the best version of yourself. Everything you do will be better when you are mentally, physically, and spiritually aligned with the best version of yourself. So although I'm saying these things are going to be hard and whatnot, it is worth it. It is 100% worth it. The potential for you, the potential for all of us, the extreme potential, I might say, exists in a place that we currently are not at. And that's one of the things I love about planning and strategizing, that no matter how well things have gone or not so good, there's a higher potential, there's a higher possibility for each one of us if we're willing to grind it out a little bit. And that's what it's going to feel like. And we can't be afraid of it. So ultimately what I'm saying, you got to be willing to do some hard shit. So real quickly here, just a kind of a review of it all. One, we got to raise our standards. When you raise your standards, you win. You got to follow a plan, some type of strategy. And when you do that, guess what? You win. And if you're willing to do more hard shit, guess what? You win. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Health Made Simple show. Keep doing your thing. Keep sharing it out. Thanks for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Y'all be awesome.